Hello New Jersey, welcome to the first video version of John Cifelli's Weather NJ. It's great to see you, it's even better to be seen. And yes, we do have some snow in the forecast. As I mentioned yesterday in the email, my thinking was 2 to 4 inches south of 195, 4 to 8 north of 195, and I am expecting to trim back those numbers just a touch as things have come into a little bit better focus, and it does look like we're going to be the lower end of those ranges here. So hopefully you can stick with me and this will work, and if not, we'll have to talk to my producer about it. But first off, what we're looking at here is a map of New Jersey. This is valid at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the temperature map across the state, and the reason I wanted to show this is you can see temperatures basically hovering on either side of freezing, a little bit above the further south you go, but up north in the foothills and in the Piedmont area, you can see temperatures still below 30, and I don't think we're going to break freezing in much of that area north of 78 basically. And that's going to have a big impact on the roadways tomorrow, as this is the time of year that you can expect light snow to still accumulate on the road, whereas in late February or March you really need heavy snow, a steadier snowfall rate, and a lot of cloud cover to block out the sun to keep the roads from melting at all points. So even though snow should be generally light, maybe moderate at times tomorrow, especially the further north you go, I do think that there will be some accumulating on the roads because of the time of year, as I said. You can see the dew point here, temperatures generally in the teens, and that means that the humidity is going to be basically around 50% across the state, and that's important because we're not going to lose a lot of precipitation to virga, which is snowfall that evaporates aloft before it reaches the ground. What you need in most snowfall situations is the entire column of air above you to be saturated before snow will make it all the way down to the surface. And since humidity is generally around 50%, we're not going to really lose a whole lot of precipitation. So what we do get, although it is generally a moisture-starved system tomorrow, I do think will make it down to the ground. Now the North American model, which is one of the two main models of the American suite, was sticking to a pretty heavier snowfall solution with a nice tight gradient the further north you go. Let's get this out of here. Sorry about that. But since yesterday, last night, it has started to back away from that and come a little closer to the GFS, there are still some slight differences, and I'll show those to you now. This is called the QPF forecast. It is essentially the amount of liquid that you can expect to fall when the storm comes and goes. You can see here in South Jersey, somewhere between 1/100th and 1/10th of an inch. The further north you go, we get real close to the half-an-inch threshold, right around the Delaware Water Gap in far North Jersey. And you can see on the GFS, it's a little bit drier. And this is usually how it is with these two models. The NAM's usually a little wetter, the GFS a little drier. The difference between the two is much more extreme yesterday. And there are still some subtle differences, which I'm going to show you here as to why these differences probably still exist. And I'm going to show you why I think that I'm leaning a little bit closer to the NAM than the GFS. This is the 500 millibar map. This is about halfway up in the atmosphere. You can see what we have right here. This is what I often call a vortmax, or a maximum of vorticity on the entire map. You can see another one here, and another one way back here in South Dakota. This is the North American model's depiction of it. You can see the vortmax placement over central Pennsylvania, whereas the GFS at the same time has it over more northeast Pennsylvania. And it looks like a subtle difference, but it really has a big implication when you're talking about such a small area forecast for as New Jersey. When you look at the size of this big sprawling gyre, as I mentioned yesterday, that's the polar vortex, and you can see how big that is, and you can see the size of New Jersey here, and it really does have an impact of where these little features are placed. So the fact that the NAM has it held a little further back and a little bit stronger than the GFS, which is a little further north, explains why the GFS is putting a little bit more of the precipitation maximum further north and up towards southeast New York. This is the 850 millibar map, so this is a little bit further down in the atmosphere, a little closer to the surface. This is the North American model projection, and this here is the GFS. Let's cue this up so I can bounce between the two, and I'll show you what you see here. This is the 850 millibar low right here, and you can see the main one over the Great Lakes. You can see some energy transfer heading towards the coast, towards Rhode Island and certainly out to sea. So you can see an energy transfer at the 850 millibar level from here out to here. And on the NAM, you can see it go from the Great Lakes more towards New Jersey. So you see more of a northwest to southeast orientation of the 850 millibar low versus the GFS, which has more of an east-west and well north of New Jersey. And what this does is the further south and west the 850 millibar low is, the more we're going to get southerly and easterly winds at this level off the ocean. This is going to bring warm air advection. It's another cause of lift. It's another thing that enhances snowfall and rainfall, of course. So the little differences between at 500 millibar and 850 millibar are the reasons that I think we see the differences in the snowfall accumulation. This is one other computer model projection. This is the MM5 produced by SUNY Stony Brook, and this is their QPF total forecast. So a little bit different color scheme. You can see we're zoomed in here over New Jersey, but this is essentially the same map as these ones. But the SUNY MM5 has a precipitation max up here in the Benny region, Bergen, Essex, Newark, New York. Done with you. And you can see that max is going to be right around ½ an inch. So the SUNY MM5, which I really like as a small scale mesoscale model, does have a max precip over New Jersey versus being in southeast New York. So I think that the fact that the SUNY MM5 and the NAM are in a decent agreement, I'm going to hedge a little bit closer towards that and a little bit away from the GFS. So again, as I said in the email, my snowfall total forecast is going to be 1 to 3 inches south of 195, in between 195 and 78. We're going to look at 3 to 6 in this area, and 4 to 8 up here in far northwest New Jersey, north of 78. Again, precip should generally begin around rush hour, and we're looking at about a 12-hour snowfall event. Could linger a little bit longer up towards New York City. And as I did mention, I wanted to show you an extended outlook. This is the 132-hour forecast. It's valid at 7 o'clock p.m. Tuesday night. This is Tuesday out in the future. And you can see we have a shallow trough here at 500 millibars. We have a vort max over the southern Ohio Valley towards the Appalachians. And at the surface, we can see low pressure, generally a weak low pressure off the North Carolina-Virginia coast. In other solutions over the past couple days, the GFS and another couple other global models, the European and the Canadian, have shown different solutions, putting the low anywhere from here way out to sea, bringing it towards New Jersey, Atlantic City. A couple different possibilities here, and this one's still very much on the playing field. Plenty of time to sort this one out. Could be nothing. It could be all the way west enough for it to be rain, but I certainly think that we have a decent shot at some more snowfall here Tuesday into Wednesday. Well, it's going to wrap it up. I don't expect to have another update on this storm. This one's pretty easy to forecast, and it's a high confidence forecast. So stay safe, and warm regards from John Cifelli's Weather NJ.